going on, guys? This is Witz here. We do have Tailwind on the screen, however, he will not be with me this time. This time we have Juan here taking over for this week. So Juan, welcome.
Hello, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to anyone out there that are MBL fans. And first and foremost, before we keep on going, I do apologize for yesterday's video on that horrible mic quality. Even myself, I was ashamed for that. I assure you, I am not a potato mic. This is me, this is how I sound, this is actually my real voice. I apologize for the atrocity that was yesterday. Carry on, good man.
All right, well, I guess on that note, why don't we hop right over to our number 12. We have 12 through 8 coming up on your screen. Before we go, so Juan has Tailwind's notes.
Yes, I do.
And we'll be speaking as Tailwind. I mean, he'll throw in his own input whenever is necessary, but
yes, most definitely.
As of now, right now at number 12, I have Team Blue Hunnets and Tailwind has Team Mythical. We kind of flip-flopped 11 and 12, so why don't we talk about Tailwind's number 12 first and Team Mythical. So what does Tailwind have to say regarding that?
I'm going to read this word for word, just so everyone knows these are not my words, do not kill me. Tailwind wanted to move them up, but as their early game was their fantastic and a flinch on Metacham made them lose, because Extra was allowed to live and allowed Jamie to switch around to stall the Turk room. Rushed plays and not prioritizing Oregon Z and giving a free turn and setting up Z conversion to be able to sweep. We saw the battle. I know I did when I did the weekly recaps. It was... Team Mythical had a really good first amount of turns, but then that flinch just threw them off guard. He has also a personal message to Marty, and make sure to take your time when locking in the moves. Make sure you discuss it out with your partner Joe, and don't rush into it. Take your time with it. You have 100 seconds.
And like I had pretty much the same thing. They definitely came to play this week. That first turn was great. Everything early game was going right in their favor. Then that flinch happened. I had the same thing. They seemed to be rushing a little bit. And like there was one thing that they said. I think Joe said like at one point they were scouting for the Protect with Phantom Force, and they had that as another option in case they didn't want to do Z Trick or Treat. They could do Z Phantom Force instead. I thought that was great prep. That way they could have either one to go through, since Phantom Force actually goes through subs, goes through Protect. So like it has the opportunity to then beat the Protect, which is very common in multi-leagues. I thought that was great prep.
I definitely did enjoy seeing that Z Trick or Treat.
One thing I would like to say though, like if they have that going for them, if they're going to be working in the Trick Room, if they're going to be boosting all their stats, they might want to do it with a faster Gorgeist, because I think they use Super there. I know Large has a little bit more speed, Small has base 99 speed, and Regular is base 84 speed. So if they went with that higher speed stat, yes, they would have lost some power, but I feel like even with the boosted stats, they would have been fine coming in with a faster...
Yeah, definitely, because anything at +1 is a scary threat, and especially +1 everything, which is actually I found very hilarious to see that 2 teams this week brought +1 everything sets. No, 3 teams. I'm so sorry, because there was also Team Jamie that brought it in the same match. Why do you have Blue Hunnets on the number 12?
So this is what I was referring to when I was saying getting their combo off was going to be difficult. They have Trick Room, Mega Steelix, and Sand. They have three very big things that go along with their team to make that team really, really well. And it shows how exploitable they are before everything can get up. It takes several turns to get it up. And the one other thing I noticed is that both of their Megas were on the same side.
Oh,
so right away,
they already know
right away
this game. That's it,
because they only can hold the Mega Stones, and that's it. So it's a telltale sign to what your opponent. So what you're going to be bringing and what won't be brought, especially based on the team dynamic that is then also there. So by having them on the same side, it immediately neutralizes a huge threat. And so I feel like even if you're going to bring one as a bluff, you still want to put it on the opposite side. Yeah. That way you can at least have the opportunity to say, hey, we're going to Mega both Pokemon, as opposed to, hey, I can only Mega this thing and the other thing has a useless item.
And also, just to elaborate on that, also brings out the minings that we were talking about before. If they're both on the same side, you say, okay, only one of these Megas are coming. You already know the entire team on that one side. Really quick thing when I go over what Tailwind said. Blue Hunnets was heavily hacked this week and struggled to get through the subsets, allowing Oranguru to die turn 1 and ruin the Trick Room core that they were trying to do. Unfortunately, again, the dual rock slide miss, the sludge bomb, the Suckall secondary effect, the paralyzation, the poison. However, he feels that this week, even though without the hacks, they might have still struggled heavily, as subs played extremely well, and the manual grass and terrain helped them a bit.
That's another thing I was going to bring up. Because of the grassy terrain, I think Blue Hunters, they were saying their best play was still to go for that Earthquake. You're in grassy terrain. It's going to lower the power by 50%. The better play there would have just been gone for a move that wasn't affected by grassy terrain, whether it was Heavy Slam, whether it was one of the other coverage moves that they were running.
Let's go over Team Juice, which both Tailwind and Witz have on the same slot as number 10.
Yeah, actually, the next 3 are actually similar. There is a little bit of a discrepancy in the slides. I actually do have Team Leaky at 9 and Subs at 8. I think that got flipped when we were in communication. So the next 3 are similar in regards to Tailwind, myself, and our power rankings. Team Juice, I have them at 10. The hacks and not having the correct item on Tornadus really cost them this week. You can't really say much more. The Toxic missing, the fact that they had Expert Belt and not Flyanium Z, meant they couldn't touch the Buzzwole at all with the Tornadus, which was pretty much their sole answer to kill him, besides the Heat Wave from Volcanion. Because Skydrop was the attacking move that they had, and Skydrop cannot actually pick up the Buzzwole, which means they had no way of attacking it when it came to the Tornadus outside of a weak smackdown and a resisted U-turn. But they played a great game. They were unfortunate. They had the misses, they had the replaced item, and then they had the insane luck from not Scald between the Rock Slide crit, the Flare Blitz misclick, and the wrong Buzzwole even being brought. They had an Acid Downpour Buzzwole because he brought the wrong Buzzwole. Somehow that all ended up in not Scald's favor. I think they just need to focus a little bit more. They're playing really well. They got the prep. They have the plays. They're making the plays in game. I think you just have to focus on making sure that they have everything they need before going into the battle.
Even with the 2 losses, Tailwind could not lower Juice to 11 because they played really well both times. In week 1, even though being destroyed by Magirna, and this week unfortunately for getting the Flying MZ and ending up with another loss from misplays and a few hacks. Crit on Volcanion hurt, but sacking Aegis late game was a bad play, in his opinion, not my opinion, which makes them 10.
Is there any input that you want to throw in from Team Juice's standpoint? Or
I just say, if anything, just to play a little bit patiently. If anything, don't make the desperate play too soon.
Alright, so yeah, we both got Leaky. So what does Tailwind have to say there?
Tailwind says that Leaky, that he's in 9th place as they took a heavy loss from Dream Ball. Taking a 5-0 hurts a lot, and they were outplayed at almost every corner and couldn't get the momentum they needed against Dream Ball. The misplay leaving Audino alive in the last turns hurt their differential, and forfeiting at the end makes it so they have a 5-0 instead of a 4-0 loss if Audino died to hell. Furthermore, their win against Blue Hunnets isn't strong enough to raise them higher, as it was only a 1-0 victory over Blue Hunnets.
I originally had them at 8, which is why the slides are the way they are, but I docked them down for forfeiting as opposed to playing it out. They played pretty well against them. They had some good tech. They had the Z Celebrate into Baton Pass, which Team Green Ball actually did not pick up. They didn't notice the Cherish Ball when it first came out, so they didn't notice that it was going to be a Celebrate set. I felt like they could have used the support a little bit better. They kept physically saying that Helping Hand Megawar to Store Power was the best play. Let's do it. And then they talked themselves out of it every single time. It was one of the turning points in the match because they would have had the necessary damage to take out the Tapu Fini or take out the Megalodino, whichever one that they wanted to target, they could have been able to take it down. But because they talked them out of the Helping Hand boost, it ended up keeping them alive, being able to then get the massive damage off onto Hibiki's side, taking him out. Again, just make sure you guys are playing the games out because one of the main tiebreakers is differdiffential if you're going for the top cut.
I think we've said enough about Team Leaky for now. We're gonna go into the team subs.
I just have to say one thing. That Mew was gorgeous. That
Mew was amazing. I personally loved that Mew. They used the sands against them. It caused so much pressure when they revealed it was Transform Mew, which you don't really see that much. This is what the beauty about like League VGC format. You see the unique things come out, and I really appreciate that from team subs. But what do you have to say about them?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It was like normally when I see a transform, it's either from Ditto, that's for some reason Limber, or I see it from a Smeargle. So like the fact that they were able to use the Mew to its fullest potential, I feel like it was great prep, and they were able to take advantage of the sand. Double targeting Oranguru first turn, preventing the Trick Room from getting up. They realized what they needed to do from the get-go, and they made the best play possible every single turn, including the Grassy Terrain. That was great prep, lowering the power of Earthquake, and I've really underestimated Seismitoad when it comes to doubles format.
Yeah, it's that unnatural bulk that you don't expect. That you see it in singles all the time, but you don't expect it in doubles, especially when it's
exactly.
And it, also the utility. Like you don't see usually Sludge Bomb coming out of it. Like usually it's like a mix set, but more of it stabs. Just to really quickly tag on what Tailwind said, Subs takes a crushing defeat from Wii Disney, and it makes it so they can't move far too much. But with the prep and the way they played around Hunnet's team this week, and the fantastic play like their Transform Mew, and the manual Grassy Terrain elevates them up to the 8th spot. And if this is the momentum that they're showing right now, Tailwind is expecting it to continue in their favor, and they might keep on climbing up in the ranks in later weeks if they keep it up like this.
Yeah, that sounds about right. All right, and I think with that, we'll move on to our next 4 teams. We have the same teams there from 4 to 7. We just flip-flop 2 of them. So I have Drinking Birds higher, Tailwind is Not Scald higher. But we both agree on number 7, which is Team Jamie. So what does Tailwind have to say for them?
Tailwind says that, oh boy, remember this is Tailwind's words. Team Jamie played poorly early game this week, but once they got the flinch on Metacham, they were able to pick up the momentum and stall out the Trick Room, and eventually pull off the Z conversion due to a misplay on Mythical's side, allowing Porygon Z and Young Mega to clean up late game and win the match. However, they aren't moving up or down due to the way they played this week and the previous week.
I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. I had dropped them down even though they had won. I feel like one of the main things that they were able to win was because of the flinch. I mean, I'm not dropping them because of hacks. Don't get me wrong. It's also because of all the other teams that played this week that are making them go down. I mean, I have 6 other teams that are higher who played amazing games as well. So it's not like I'm trashing on Team Jamie just because I moved them down a peg. Some people say 3 heads are better than 2, and in this case they were. But I mean,
okay, I appreciate the joke. I'll recognize it, and I will not acknowledge that the fact that you tried, though.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Really quickly say, like I said in the weekly recaps, the Tyranitar play was not the way you were supposed to do it. Yes, you need to get the stand up, but unfortunately that was not the time to sack it that early in the game when you have a lot of pressure going on with you and you have still potential to win. Even though you did 1, you still risked it a lot because of that play.
On the same side, you do not want to have 3 things weak to fighting, especially against Team Mythical. Mega Metacham is a huge threat. I've seen people comparing it to Mega Mawile. A, it's faster, B, it hits harder, and with being able to utilize that base 100 speed to then bop a bunch of people, a bunch of mons just out of the way, and its coverage is insane. I think they were underestimating that in terms of prep just because they put 3 mons weak to fighting on the same side. And I think with that, we'll move on to 5 and 6. Now at 5, I have Drinking Birds, and 6, I have Not Scald, and Tailwind reverses that. I'll speak as to why I had Not Scald at 6. I'd have them higher except for their fortune. The misclicks, the wrong mons, literally anybody else. Only Joey and MV. Literally anybody else.
Will make a bad situation work, basically.
Exactly. They're the only ones where something good will happen when it comes to that. I mean, we talk about Duncan luck all the time when it comes to things not working out in people's favor, and yet somehow Not Scald hasn't worked out in their favor every single time.
I 100% agree. Just to quickly say, before I keep on saying my thoughts about this game, Not Scald for him took the 5 spot for beating Dream Ball and Juice. Even though both matches had hacks in their favor, they still had 2 wins and deserved their spot to playing extremely well both times, even with hacks in their favor. Their use of an incorrect Buzzwall to an advantage, and making use of Tailwind and making predictions like Rock Slide onto the incoming Volcanion. Joey and MV are gods. They know their singles play. The fact they can, like I said in the weekly recap, they can transition that into doubles and still play well, even though they are at disadvantage in terms of the mons that you bring, the sets that are incorrect. It's just amazing to see in their part in terms of a player's aspect. I would agree with them, in the terms of they're bringing number 5. But again, as the way-old problem of every single analyst that has analyzed any battle, please check your mons. Just please do it. It hurts. It hurts to see when you either lose or like you make a bad play because you just don't check your mons before you battle. I'm gonna quickly talk about Drinking Birds before my pain goes on anymore.
Alright.
Drinking Birds take a heavy loss from Wii Disney this week, which knocks them down to the 6th spot. For Tailwind's perspective, this is due to the fact they were outplayed. Completely 100% outplayed. Wii Disney were able to take Lanoon into the sky and prevent Blastoise's Follow Me. Furthermore, they were able to set up the Tailwind and the Dragon Dance to the point that they couldn't pull the game back.
Yeah, we just need to just absolutely destroy it, and we'll talk about them later on when we get higher up. I do disagree with one thing that Tailwind said. I mean, yes, the Dragon Dance and Tailwind play was great. They were able to lower that speed with Rock Tomb, so the Dragon Dance really only upped the attack, whereas it kept the speed relatively neutral outside of the Tailwind boost. I think Drinking Birds played it pretty well. They just got outplayed.
I'm actually gonna contradict what you say because of the fact that they did go for the Tailwind DD. Because them doing that just secured that they were going to outspeed for either how many terms. That's, I think, was a great a great outplay from We Disney's part.
Yeah, it was a huge play. Huge play. I love that play.
Yeah, but I'm saying that definitely that was another. Don't discredit the DD Tailwind. It was necessary. Just make sure to outspeed.
Yeah. I was just saying to the point where I think there was a little bit too much emphasis.
Okay.
As opposed to earlier plays where it was, oh yeah, that follow me, they got taken advantage of. They weren't able to get the belly drum sweep. Their prep was great, and they weren't able to completely go about and do what they wanted to do because of the flawless play.
And speaking of flawless, actually.
Well, let's move right on up to our number 4s in flawless.
Yep. I'll lead off right now. Team Flawless, according to Tailwind, played well against Cyberbaz and could have possibly won if Angus didn't second guess and not protect McGearn, making it fall after a single turn, and this lost the momentum Flawless had in the beginning. It allowed Cyberbaz to keep the momentum they had and played it safe throughout the rest of the game, which, as we saw, they did wonderfully. However, their early game was fantastic and allowed them to put serious pressure on Cyberbaz, and that's why he puts them in number 4. It's still that we can't discredit that the beginning of the game. Yeah, Flawless had great predictions and great focus.
Agreed. I think once they were able to really dial in that early game, they got the fake out plus the thunder off right away. They were able to avoid that 60% flinch, which is massive. But when it came to being able to set up play, and even late game when they were almost able to come back with the hoopa, string shotting instead of sticky webbing, I think people would think that wasn't the smart play. But however, the Needle Queen would have been able to outspeed the hoopa if it wasn't for that string shot. So yeah, the other thing wasn't able to come in, but the Braylon was sashed. There wasn't really any way of avoiding that loss, but the being able to set themselves up for the win with the string shot, I think was really, really good. And that's one of the reasons why I kept them at 4.
Yeah, I just want to definitely would like to give them a congratulations for focusing on that Mega Aerodactyl, because definitely in the beginning, if Mega Aero was not dealt with, they could have some serious problems from the beginning. Everything was said. I completely agree with what Tailwind said. I completely agree with what you said as well. So we're gonna go into the next slide now, and we're gonna talk about our top 3 for the week. My top 3, Witz's top 3, and Tailwind's top 3.
They're all the same. So when it came to Dream Ball, working around the Necrozma was masterfully done, forcing it to focus on reversing Trick Room as opposed to attacking and then having it moonlight when it needed to moonlight. It really were able to focus it down in a sense of not having it attack. And then Z Trick Room as well. That was great. They were able to bypass the taunt, get off the Trick Room that they needed to do, as well as raise the accuracy for potential hypnosis, but they ended up switching out because they were taunted. And one of the big things, and this is going to go unnoticed, not Mega Evolving the Audino and keeping the Regenerator.
Yes.
Keeping the Regenerator, they allowed the Audino to live. So even right now, people, it's very slim where it would have died the hail the next turn. If they had Mega'd, it would already be dead, because the Regenerator gave them that boost back of health so that it was able to then live the stored power and be able to heal pulse the Finny back to full health. That itself is a form of mastery which can only be done by a few teams.
For Tailwind's analysis of his 3rd place spot, Dream Ball moved to 3rd place due to their fantastic performance and previous loss due to hacks. They have shown that week 1 was just an upset and they aren't season 1 champs for nothing. They played fantastically and made all the right plays and kept on top of their game throughout the entire game, and this allowed them to snag a 5-0 victory. I 100% love the Tapu Fini Mega Audino. It was like a purely support set. It was amazing how well it was executed, how well they preserved the Mega Audino, like you said, leaving the Audino just regular so that it can keep that regenerated when it switched out. It's unfortunate that the Misty Seed didn't go off for for the Zapdos. That
was knocked off. So
that would have been scary seeing a +1 Zapdos. I respect their plays altogether. They thoroughly took their time and made sure that every play was the correct play, which is what I enjoy in terms of VGC content.
I guess with that, we'll move on to Cyberbaz.
Tailwind says that Cyberbaz played fantastically in the first week and played a great game this week. However, they didn't get a dominating performance this week and did get put under a lot of pressure. This means that they couldn't maintain their 1 spot. They didn't play bad, but they didn't do as good as the team above. And they made the correct plays and dealt with Magirna instantly, which is by far the smartest thing I've seen in any terms of league format. Deal with Magirna, kill it, just make it useless, because that is one thing you do not want setting up by killing everything on the field.
It was close battle between Cyberbaz and Flawless. Aaron and Baz, they were able to pull down one of the biggest teams in the league. I had them at 2. I had Flawless at 2 last week. They were able to knock them down a couple pegs from the top spot that they had before. and I couldn't agree more. They focused on Magirna the second it hit the field.
Yes.
They saw what it did the previous week. They saw what it could do, and they got rid of it. That's what every team needs to do. They need to focus down on Magirna the second it hits the field. Otherwise, it's just going to sweep them. And Cyberbaz did it perfectly. The Volcarona worked perfectly. The masterful play around the Infernape and the Togekiss, like figuring out that it was a support Infernape and just going out about it. And that way, they were able to focus down Angus's side while keeping that Infernape alive, since all I could do was Mach Punch.
It's cool to see that when you realize that the support mon, like there's usually an offensive mon like you see in Infernape always. When you realize it is a support mon, you can just leave it by itself. It's not going to do anything, as we saw literally Infernape was just sitting there. We're going to transition over to everyone's #1 spot this week, and that is Team Wee Disney. You have it boosted up from 3 spots up, my man?
Yeah, I had them at 4, and I was gonna say this is one of the last times that I ever doubt Wee Disney. I mean, yeah, I picked them to beat Drinking Birds that week, but I still had them a little lower than I should have, and I know that. I can't praise them enough right now.
Speaking about Disney references, remember in that scene where Mushu goes to Mulan and says, "Dishonor on you, dishonor on your family, dishonor on your cow. How dare you, man? How dare you?"
I mean, they're in a whole new world right now. I don't know what to say.
We're gonna keep on dropping these references before at the end of the day. Let's keep on.
All right. Well, I think we can easily say that Sky Drop play turn 1, that was crucial. Preventive Drinking Birds from getting the Linoon set up the sweep. The Tailwind D-Dance play, the Wide Lens Hurricane. They just had it all set up. Even the Scarf Coco. They had the Scarf Coco to outspeed Scarf Darman at 10.
That's very nicely done. Yes.
Like T-Man and Lorsi, they know what they're doing. they know what they're doing. They're big-time VGC players. And yeah, and we Disney picked them apart like they were some chumps that we picked up across the street.
Hey, we respect everyone here in the MBL, but we also respect very well plays, very good predictions, and very, very smart decision making, which is why I think all around we agree the Team Wee Disney is the #1 spot. Just to quickly say what Tailwind says, Team Wee Disney got 2 dominating victories and earned their #1 spot this week. They played exactly how they needed to play and made sure that they targeted the correct things. They set up perfectly and used their DC crystals flawlessly too. This allowed them to give an early edge in the game and keep their momentum throughout the game, which they did not let up 1 minute. There was literally like, I think 1 turn of doubt, but they were just keep on the pressure, though I could see. It was amazing to see that from them.
Shofu's predictions were out there, or they were godlike.
They were on point from both matches and claimed 2 dominant victories in the #1 spot this week for Tailwind. Well done, guys. Well done, everyone. Yeah, this is only week 2, and we're seeing amazing plays from almost every team. There's still some teams that we have to rough up a little bit, get used to format, but again, this is only week 2. You have so much time to improve. You have so much room to learn from your other opponents, to learn from each other. You can do this, guys. Definitely. There's only week 2 numbers. You're gonna see that everything's gonna be volatile within the weeks coming up.
And with that, this rounds up power rankings for this week. We have from Tailwinds and my own, as well as Juan jumping in. Thank you again for coming on in this in the tight spot.
Of course.
We always appreciate those thumbs up. Leave below what your rankings are. If you feel like we messed up in some way, call us out. Throw your own rankings down there. We take everything into consideration.
We love to hear the comment section. We love to hear your opinions, and this also helps us get feedback on how we are doing and how we can improve. Also, this extends out to the coaches as well. If you think we said something wrong, want to clarify something, by all means, leave in the comment section or just assault us in the Discord chat.
Don't roast us too hard, but I mean, yeah.
I'm only sub here.
Actually, no, that's Callum and Luke.
But hope you all have a great day.
Catch you guys next time. See ya.
See you.